All right, email marketing, late night conversations. I can't even believe I'm doing this. But I have to because I feel that, first of all, happy August, happy new month. I'm happy you were here. And I just want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this conversation. It's going to be one of those exciting rooms where you'll be listening, you'll be learning, you'll be taking notes, you'll be applying information, you'll see how it works for you. That's pretty much what I'm trying to say, because the whole idea of what I'm doing or why I'm doing this is so that you can also do this for yourself, because I'm doing this for others and we're doing this collectively. And I said, why not bring it in here? So welcome to the room, and above my head is a link which will take you to my podcast called We Don't Play. This is August 1st. I think I might do it every day. I don't know. We'll see if I'm going to do a daily room. If I do, that will be very nice, because I might do like a daily room. Yeah, I might just do a daily room up until the 12th, because August 12th is when, yeah, August 12th is when this podcast turns 5. 5 years old. It's crazy to think about the time. Time just flies, yo. you know, like it just flies. Like you wonder, okay, all this time, we've hit about 390 episodes, and we're top 3% globally, and in 30 days on rotation for 52 weeks we are technically listened to in about 113 countries. So the thought of just the whole thing sometimes just makes me go like, whoa, like this is really happening. So I don't take it for granted, and I was not really even looking at the clock. I wasn't looking at the time. I wasn't looking at, those factors, that allow you to see a little bit more and understand, like what is the actual goal of this podcast? Like, why am I even doing this episode here? For that matter, I think it's because I want to document the process, and I think it's a beautiful thing because we're talking all day, right? So why is it so hard to come on a platform like this and still say something but has value that someone can actually take in and say, hi, I actually learned something from being here. I've helped people in different industries, from hair care to real estate to food to business to travel to health, like you name it, because SEO is the name of the game. And if you need that SEO, you need that practice, you need that top extension, you have to think about those things right now, because that's the beginning of where you start focusing on goals, targets, buildings. How are you scheduling your business for success? I think I should actually make that as a title. I'm going to write this down. How to schedule your business for success. How to schedule, I'm writing it down, your business for success. Because we don't really schedule. We don't really know what to even schedule in the first place. Because I've been here on Clubhouse for almost 4 years now. And Plant Lady Tay, I'm about to add you too. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. This app is nice. I like the app because it can tell when you follow someone or when someone follows you, I think. So I'm also paying attention. So thanks for being here. Yeah, I've been on this app for about 4 years now, going to 4 years. And hey, and I've been on this app consistently, if not every week, every other week. Like if you type SEO in the search bar or Pinterest or podcast something, you will see this purple icon everywhere. Because I probably have done at least 100 rooms, at least, like it's anywhere between 100 to 400 rooms on Clubhouse for the last 4 years. And why I'm so big on this is because podcasting is what has opened up the business, because I run a business called Work and Play Entertainment. And it started off by just being a service based business that just kicked off, doing music and merch, music and merch, music and merch, because I'm a musician too. I'm a drummer, self taught drummer, producer. Now I make music for podcast jingles, including mine and our clients and our academy as well. So now we have a team. It's so spread out. So just looking at the time you spend doing podcasting has evolved into something I could actually look back at and say, okay, because we have a podcast, we were able to build an email list. Why am I giving you this backstory? Because when you focus on email marketing, it starts to grow on you, right? Because email marketing is one of the best ways to communicate with your audience. It's the most, I would say, the most silent, but also the most deadly. If I'm talking about conversions, results, accuracy, direct inbox, like really like hitting the nail on the head, like that. It's literally spot on because you can't miss. If you get an email, the email is yours. If the email came to you accidentally, yeah, that's another thing. But 9 times out of 10, that email that you received was because you wanted to receive an email, right? So when you opt in, you're opting in because you want to listen in. A lot of businesses don't think about email marketing. They do, but they don't. This is what I mean. Because we've worked with small businesses, private companies, corporations, multinational companies, enterprises. I've seen the whole scale, right? Because my business, we're going to be about 11 years. Yeah, we're going to be 11 a decade in a month, and in a month, pretty much a decade in a year, if I can put it like that, because it was September. So August, September has been always that new year and, anniversary time. So I just thought about it and I said, hey, if we're going to have to scale, then we'd have to use a way to, first of all, intellectually protect the business. Because when you send emails, you're sending emails to people who want to receive them. So if I'm receiving an email from you, it's because I like your emails. If I don't like your emails, guess what? I'm going to unsubscribe. But if I've been on your email list for 2 years, for 3 years, for 4 years, for 5 years, for 10 years, and you've never left, that says a lot about your business. And the best thing about using email marketing is that it's silent because it's not noisy. It's not on Instagram, it's not on TikTok, it's not in your face, it's in your inbox. So that inbox is getting attention because that inbox is receiving retention. Why? You check your email, what's in my email? Oh, I didn't get it. Okay, let me check my spam or let me put in the promotions. Those are things you have to think about because when people spend time on your inbox, it's because you're giving them value. Like today, I sent an email about frequently asked questions about this podcast, and there were 7 questions, and I answered all 7. I'm actually gonna, yeah, I'm actually gonna do this. Let's do this. I'm gonna talk about the 7. Let me bring it in here. Okay. So if you click the link above, you also get these emails as well because they're very like I don't like to bother people. I don't like to, nag or be in your face. Like when I want to show up, I want to show up with quality because I want to respect your time. So when I send out emails, when I put out podcasts, like I really go in because I realized like at some point I was like, nobody's listening to this podcast. Then I realized, oh man, wait a minute, people are really listening. Because when I get people on my podcast to interview, like last month during July 4th weekend, I was featuring somebody from Poland. He's Irish, but he lives in Poland. And we connected and he got on my calendar and he was like, oh, you talked about Happy Independence Day in the US, right? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm in Houston. He's like, okay, I'm in Poland. Then we started talking and we became friends and now we're cool. His name is Roy. And we did an episode. So you're gonna hear him soon. He's a multi business owner. Like he's doing his own thing. Right. So you're looking at someone who I've never met before, it's like a blind date, right? Whatever impression, whatever you're gonna do, however you're gonna react is gonna be captured. So you got to be on your best behavior, just be you, really. So that happening, I said, okay. So we connected and it started to ring. And I'm like, wait a minute, people are really listening. So I thought about searching for my podcast. This was like a couple of months back. And I said, let me really find out, like, what's my podcast really doing? Because we have over 390 episodes, right? And we have 150 episodes that have not been released yet. So we're like, whoa, what's going on here? Because we are about 3% top global ranking, you know, and it's something that took time, and we don't actually rate ourselves. It's the algorithms that rate us. It's listennotes.com. And what attributed to this success is because I woke up, like, I think it was the third year into the podcast, and I said, hey, we need an email list for this thing. Not that I didn't think we needed one, but I just felt the need. Because sometimes when you have a feeling, you want to trust the feeling, you want to trust your gut, right? It's not everybody you connect with, it's not everybody that you want to work with, it's not everybody that you even want to see or even spend time with. But the ones that you do want to spend time with, you're going to connect, right? Over here, I'm connecting with you guys, Sharina, Darshani, Kadesh, Yej, Rowan, Garrett, Boss, good to see you. Thanks. I saw the wave. Thanks for being here, Rush, and also Chayapong. I know that this is an international app, and connecting with people internationally has been something I've been doing. Like this morning, I had a meeting. It's 9:42 p.m. Central. This morning at 7 a.m., I was talking with someone I met on LinkedIn, and she's in Berlin, in Germany, and she brought me onto this platform, and I'm in her program now. I'll talk about those things later, but just to tell you how internationally connected this podcast has created, there's no way. Like on Monday, I'm talking to somebody in Sweden. The next day, I'm talking to somebody in Germany. The next day, I'm talking to somebody in somewhere in the US, right? Like it's the next time it's the UK. Now our team has expanded and we're an international team, right? Hey, Austin, welcome, welcome. Thanks for being here. So this is a late night conversation. I'm just telling you that I will be telling somebody that I'm, talking to about this, right? So I'm just here telling you because I wouldn't say it to myself. So the email marketing piece is so important because if you're not, you see, sending supportive vibes all the way from Seattle. Thank you for being here, Austin. Like it's international, it's local, it's regional, it's global. That's what I realized. Our top most listened to city in the US, actually, let me just put in the world because it's been number one for the past 3 years running now out of five, is San Jose, California, right? San Jose, California. And the reason why is because Dawn just sneaked up in here. I didn't even add you. Like I've never seen. How did you sneak up in here, Dawn? What's up?
Hey,
Hey,
Favor.
Dawn. You jamming over there? I hear you. That's what's up. I love that. Yeah, it's a vibe. Yeah. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
That's good. Welcome to the room. Welcome, welcome. And yeah, I'm just having a good time here. And I was like, whoever joins this room, I don't know who's up, but we gonna see. And I'm glad that you guys are here too. So appreciate you, boss. I see you as well. San Jose, yeah, LOL, I have a weird memory. Yeah, you talked about it. I've talked about it before. Where did Shari go? Okay, is she here? Okay, I saw Shari, then she disappeared. Wait, huh? Okay, okay, she's back. I was like, wait, did she just come and okay, hey, there you are, Shari. What's up? How are you?
Hey, Favor. I'm good, honey. How are
I'm
you?
good.
Hey, Dawn.
Welcome, welcome. Where have you been? It's been a minute.
Sure.
I don't know. I'm kind of like playing like I feel like I'm playing like what's the Frogger with Clubhouse recently.
Are you on Chatter, by the way?
I am not yet on Chatter, but I'll tell you why I'm not on Chatter. Not because I don't want to, but because I'm having a hell of a time resetting my stupid ass password for my Apple ID.
Oh wow.
So yeah, me and my Apple ID are not having yeah, we're not friends right now. So I can't download anything without rechanging my password, and I tried it 1,000 times. I've been on with Apple like the last couple days last week, and then I get annoyed with it, and so I just like sidetrack it. So, but I'll be there. I promise.
Okay. Yeah, we're waiting for you, but
Hmm.
we're glad you're here.
I
You know.
know. Thank you. I like this. I like this title.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I thought about like having a room because I'm like, you know what, I might do a room every day to the through the 12th. I don't know, we'll see. Because on August 12th, the podcast is going to be 5 years, and we've hit top three globally, global ranking according to Listen Notes, and we have a listen score of 35. So I was doing the math, and I'm like, how did we get to this number? Because I don't just look at numbers and I'm like, oh yay, great. I want to know why is it 35 and not 34? Why is it not 30? Why is it 35 and not 36? So I want to know why it's five. So I did some cracking, just coding, and I'm just thinking through it. And I was like, wait a minute, my average episode length, and this is when I knew, okay, this is really the formula. And this is for anyone listening that is thinking about starting a podcast or even thinking about reading time, because that includes email marketing, right? The average, because my podcast has episodes from 1 minute all the way to like 2 hours, 3 hours, so it's wide range, right? There's really no rules to the game, but you have to follow a certain kind of formula to keep going. So the average length time for this podcast is 39 minutes. So if I have a 39-minute average time length and I have a listen score of 35, right? It means that if I'm having more conversations that are leading up to 40, 45, 50 average time listen, then my listen score goes up incrementally. Like I did a whole thing. It was like a whole moment for me. I thought about it like that, and I love that you can see that too, Don, because I was like, huh. So all I have to do is increase my average, because if I'm top 3% at a 35 listen score rating with an average of 39 minutes an episode, and we have 390 episodes, then the next 390 episodes I should be releasing should at least average above the 39-minute average and maybe bump up to 45, meaning I can have 2 hour, more 2 hours, more 1 hours, more 3 hours, maybe do a whole webinar, 4 hours, upload the whole thing. If it's a boot camp, bump it up together. You know, I've been doing those things, but I'm like, okay, there's some episodes that are really long and people actually listen, because I'm like, I don't want to bore you guys, but I look at my 2 hour episodes and I'm like, you guys are listening. Because when you listen to an episode and at least capture 25% of the audience, that's a huge thing, because that 25% is not from 0 to the 25th minute. It's from 0 to 1, and then from 3 to 5, and then from 17 to 25, and then from 35 to 40, and then you rewind it. So when you do the average total of listening time, no one's going to listen to your episode fully. That's one thing you have to understand. I mean, super fans, yes. Even if you're a diehard fan of any artist, any person that you know, there's some songs you may not want to listen to, right? You may listen to all the songs, you can't knock them all, but there's some songs that you will play more. So the point is, if you're going to have a catalog of content for podcasts, then your emails have to resonate, because when people are reading, there's a reading time attached. If the reading time says 2 minutes, then I'm going to click it because I have 2 minutes to spend. If it says 10 minutes, I don't have 10 minutes to sit down and read. So people create those intentional practices by looking at the timestamps. That's why YouTube is so big on timestamps. When you look at a timestamp, you're already preconditioning your mind to prepare for whatever is coming. When you watch a movie, you know it's a series. That's how you're going to binge, get your pillows, get your popcorn, get your wine, whatever it is, you're gonna chill because you know we're gonna have 35-minute runs and we're gonna have a 7 or 10 episode series, right? So you know that's 35 times 10, that's 350 minutes, right? Divide that by 60, that's the number of hours you're spending. So you've already calculated that into your day, technically. So if you're putting that same energy into a podcast recording, like what I'm doing now, then I know when I put it out to a podcast and I send an email about it, it goes. Like I sent an email yesterday. It was end of July. I was like, something was just like, send an email, send an email. And I sent an email to my community and I just said, hey, I appreciate you guys being here. Thanks for, joining. I'm actually going to share with you the stats. So I sent the email last night and yeah, we had a 25.8% open rate and a 13.2% click rate, hitting over about like 7,000 people. And it was just to say, hey, we appreciate you. And then at the end, I said, hey, here's an 2-hour room I did on email marketing and strategies, listen to it. Why am I focusing on this so much? There's a reason why I'm not just bringing rooms because I love to talk about this. It's because my analytics, my data, my first party data is telling me people, business owners, entrepreneurs, small business owners, people who are on LinkedIn, like I'm seeing the data, I'm reading it. It's clear. People want to learn how to do email marketing better because they feel like they have a list, they have people, they have a community, they don't know how to sell, they don't know what to say, they don't know when to say, they don't even know what platform to use. And they're also spending money on top of that. So I figured, hey, I'm going to give you guys the tools. I'll say everything in one piece so you can listen to it, rewind, replay, you know, do it all day, and then that way you can implement it back and forth because it's something that has to be practiced. I'm not saying that I'm the best at email marketing. I just know I'm better at what I'm doing now because of applied strategies, and it falls in line with everything, like even the way you write your subject lines. If you use, let me give you guys a little bit of like a hint of what I'm describing. you know how do I put this? Yeah, I'm going to mix it together. When you send an email, your email has a size file, right? Your email could be 35 kilobytes. It could be 200 kilobytes, depending on how big that email is, right? That's why you have storage, email storage. Another caveat to this, right? All right, Shari, I love the way it pops up. Okay. See you soon. All right. Awesome. When you create a motion for your business by giving it prompts, right? Within those sequences, you're creating emails for people that they're going to see these emails and they're going to see them on a consistent basis, right? Welcome, Lisa. Because when you see these emails are going to be showing up consistently. So when you look at the way you write emails, right? If you look at the W, the caveat is this: there's a space, right? The space of your email has a space or size file or a size, yeah, size number. At the same time, the letters that you use in your email carry the weight of the size of the email. I don't think you've ever heard this before. If you have, put a one in the chat. If you haven't, put a two in the chat. I'm seeing boss with the like okay, yeah, you guys let me know because I'm kind of going a little scientific with this so that you can actually understand it. Because when you use, for example, the letter W, capital W, and capital M, the pixel, every letter has a pixel size. And I'm talking SEO terms right now, technically. So when you put an M and a W, because it has a thick space, right? An M covers a lot of space compared to like the letter K or the letter I or the letter L or the letter small m, right? When you look at the big capital letter M and the small letter m on screen, the capital letter M has bigger pixels. It has a wider pixel. The smaller M has a less pixel. So I'm going somewhere with this, guys, just to tell you how important it is to think about email marketing. This is like me going deep, 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 deep into my like thinking processes. Like this is just one of the little things that I do when I think out of the box. If you calculate the size of your email and your subject line starts with a small caps instead of large caps, instead of capital letters, you're using small caps for your subject line, you have a feather lightweight email that you're sending. So you're not using capital letters that has weight on it. That's going to actually drive the email maybe into the spam, into the promotions tab, into the updates, because when emails get detected, they're detecting the text, the links in between, the size of the images that you have uploaded into your emails, the file names, the alt text. There's so many things. It sounds like gibberish, but it's so much going on. But you don't want to miss out on those things. So when you have email marketing down pat like that, and you can send emails and they go fast, your open rate goes up, your click rate goes up, right? People are able to connect with you faster. You can actually send an email and they'll actually receive it. And when they receive that email, they'll feel appreciated. So that way they know that this person actually cares. It's not like emails. I said it early in the room, it's this most silent, but also the most, I can say like the most deadliest way of communicating with people, because those are emails that you don't want to delete. Those are emails you want to store, you want to save, you want to, you want to put them somewhere. So when you think about your emails, when you're sending them, think about the size, because the size matters when you send this email, because if it's heavy, it can drop halfway, right? But if it's light, it's like a message in a bottle. You just send it, you let it go, the waves just carry it on, it gets the right person, the person reads it, you pass it on like a telephone. So think about email marketing as a way of communicating with people and just being true with them. Sometimes I write emails and I'm like, did I really write that? But people respond back and they're like, we love your emails because you're not selling us everything. Like gone are the days when I would send an email and be like, oh, buy this, buy that, do this, do that, because they already know what you're selling. That's why they're on your list. They're not like they know what you're selling. So at least that is already understood. Now, what can you teach me before I buy from you? What can you tell me? What can I learn from you? What can you tell me to do without even having to have that close connection with you to gain a win or to actually achieve something, so that when I come to you, we have something to talk about. So when you start thinking differently and changing the way you connect with them on email, it changes, right? So I did that, and that's how I was able to build it out. Like today, I sent out an email on frequently asked questions about the We Don't Play podcast show that you see above. The first question is, how many episodes does this show have? The show has 390 episodes available. There are over 150 episodes scheduled to be released this fall to celebrate 5 years on August 12th, 2024. What topics, you know, do we have? What do we cover? We have a lot, including things like marketing, SEO, which is search engine optimization. Now we call it search everywhere optimization. That's really the new thing going on, because it's no longer just engines. We're dealing with everything: Pinterest, Reddit, ChatGPT, podcast, LinkedIn. Like it's everywhere. So it's not just Google. So when you think of SEO, don't just think Google. Think your website, your emails, your LinkedIn, your Pinterest, everything, because people are searching from a place, right, of interest. So we covered those topics. We cover food, relationships, finance, real estate, social media. We also feature other podcast shows. So if you have a podcast show, we can, trade. And we also have business talk, right? It can go a little ratchet sometimes. It can go very serious sometimes. Like it's an open field, and people actually love it. They're like, hey, we can see a little bit of this, a little bit of spice. You know, it's just a whole buffet. So it's really different. It's not just one thing, but we make sure that your story is heard and your business is seen and you feel connected. Welcome, Anisha. Good evening. So we bring guests with professional etiquette and we show and give them that impactful value so that they can share their story, with us as well. What is the most popular episode? This was actually the most exciting part for me because, I love to know, what is the most, hey, what is the most popular episode out there? Because you can be doing episodes, and you don't know what episode is doing the best or the least, right? I mean, you can see it on your dashboard, but every platform has the best. Let me kind of give you guys what I've learned in these 5 years is for every podcast station that your podcast show is on, there's going to be a different episode that people love on that platform more than the others. I'll give an example. On your website, they might love episode 5. On Apple, they might love episode 8. On Spotify, it might be episode 1. On Listen Notes, it might be episode 12, right? The reason why they're different is because people have different interests. You're in different platforms, right? Somebody on TikTok may not like the same thing on LinkedIn, right? Somebody on Instagram may not like the same thing on Pinterest. So when you go into those platforms, there's a different type of psychological framework you've gone into. And welcome up if you're available as well. It's a free space. When I looked at Good Pods, because Good Pods, I got an email today saying that Good Pods just integrated with Spotify for podcasters. So it's a good thing for the podcasters, whereby, right, welcome Jen Copy, they have their own ratings. So every show has their own ratings. So for my podcast, it has the rating for brand strategies for monetization. His name is Vinny Portestivo, right? And that episode was recorded August 9th, 2022. We're in August 1st, 2024. To tell you, this was the thing that I just felt like if this doesn't make sense, I don't know what will, because our time is so precious. And I'm like, if we can say one thing once and it can be heard many times, there's no other way to do it better than doing it with a podcast because you've already addressed the problem, you've solved the problem, and now there's an action plan after the problem has been solved, right? There's implementation. So why not do it on a podcast and just let it go? Because we keep showing up on social, boom, 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 boom. Before you know it, the week's over. Then we do it again. We do it again. We'll burn out. And then 52 weeks later, we're not really seeing this anymore, right? So how do we keep that consistency? If this episode was released August 9th, 2022, and 2 years later, goodpods.com is still recommending this show. This, I think it was episode 200. Yeah, episode 200. And that's the best episode on goodpods.com for the podcast show. To tell you that the lifespan of a podcast episode, just one, is 24 months. So if you think about that, translate that to the lifespan of a pin, the lifespan of an email. The lifespan of an email is also 24 months, by the way, because I'm sure you're still checking emails that you got last year. Maybe there's some tickets that you bought last year, you're still referring to them. Maybe there's some notes or some, quotes or some things that you have last year that, you kept, or maybe 2 years ago, you had something really special. It may even go way beyond 2 years, but average 2 years, right? So when you have a podcast like the episodes we're doing this year, God willing, by 2026, the episodes we're doing in 2024 is what's going to be showing up then as top episodes. So you're planting seeds. It's like a faith of a mustard seed. You're just planting seeds on good soil, letting it germinate, letting people hear it. It's on YouTube, it's on Reddit, it's on Pinterest, it's on Apple, it's on Spotify. At the same time, with the hit of one button, you hit publish, it goes. The same way when you send an email, you hit once, it goes to everyone. So when you look at the same formula, right? When you look at the same formula, you realize that the formula is the same across all boards, right? So if you're thinking about creating consistency for your business, the best tripod or the best triangle or the best, try formula, if I can put it like that, is website at the top or the pinnacle, email, right? And then you can now have blog or podcast or even both. Because when you have website, email, podcast, blog, website, email, podcast, blog, you're creating a vicious cycle. Because this cycle now is becoming very, it's like a spin-off. It becomes like a windmill, right? It just becomes really fast. It goes on its own because somebody shows up on your email list. You send them an email, they get a link, they click on it. 2 years later, they still click on the link. It's very seamless because you're not stressing them out, right? Emails are supposed to be very pleasing, not displeasing. Like there's some emails you get, you're like, oh no, here we go again. Like you don't even want to open them. There's some emails you look forward to opening because you know you're gonna get information. When I send an email, people don't know what they're gonna get. And I think that's the beauty of our emails because I'll tell you what's coming, but I'll also give you more than I told you because I want to add value to your inbox, literally, right? So if I say, oh, this is what we're doing, this is how we're doing it, this is how we're playing it. So that's how I got to know about, the top episode. On average, I talked about 39 minutes, right? So if you want to get your podcast to the top 10%, the top 5%, we're at top 3%, and my goal is to get to top 1% by the end of the year, you know, then I need to increase my average length. In other words, if I'm having my average length at 39 minutes, I need to beef that up to at least 45 to 50 minutes average. So, how do I do that? That means every episode, if I'm averaging 39 minutes, then I need to do at least an hour or double it up. So, I can do an hour each episode. So, that when they do the average and you do a little bit of, let's say, some short episodes, your margins are a little bit higher. They're on the wider spectrum. So that gives you more accuracy because it's not just having a long episode that counts. It's also the quality, sorry, of the long episode that you're having. Because that quality that you're presenting is something that people are going to listen to at some point. At some point. And thank you, boss. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. And I know you're in a different, I don't know which country you're in. I think, oh, okay, Bangalore in India. Thank you so much for joining. Yeah, this is an international app. Appreciate you so much. Thanks for joining and hope you have a good one. And the replays are on, so you can feel free to come back here after when you come back. So creating these experiences are good for you. And it's not just the quality, it's also the size, right? Because when you look at your episodes, you have to think about your cadence, right? If you can fit your this is my cadence, right? Because I people asking how often are episodes supposed to be released. That's a big question. And for our episodes, out of 390 episodes, we've calculated and we see Good Pods also came to give us this information that our episodes are typically released every 2 days 23 hours. And then I did the math and I was like, oh, yeah, it's between 2 days, 23 hours to 10 days, 23 hours. So, how does this apply to your email? Because everything I'm saying with podcasts is springing back to email, right? It means that if you're sending an email, think about sending an email between 2 to 10 days. That's what I do. It doesn't have to be what you do, but find what works for you and what works for your audience. Every 2 to 10 days, right? So if it's every 4 days, or every 2 days, or every 5 days, or every other day, or let's say 3 times in a week, you have to think about what people are connecting with you for. And it's not just sending an email just because you want to send it. Some emails can be, this is what we're doing. Like I already kind of gave them a pre notion. Like I was like, hey guys, this is the frequently asked questions in the email. And at the very bottom of the email, I realized people like the PS. So I always put PS at the end of the email because it's like people, from what I've noticed, they'll always scroll down to the bottom because that's where the most important information possibly is for some reason. And then they scroll back up and read. Same thing with blogs. If somebody's reading a blog, they're going to scroll all the way down to see how long they're going to scroll, like how many finger swipes or scrolls do they have to do before they, get back up to start from the top. So I did at the bottom, I said, hey, by the way, we have a new business operating policy, and I will send it as an email, but here's the page. So if you want to click on the page, you click on the page and you can read the policy. But now I'll send it as an email officially for people to see, what we're doing. So when you start sending those kind of things too, you're also showing trust, you're showing transparency, you're showing etiquette, you're showing ethical marketing. It's not just, oh, we're selling, oh, we're buying, oh, those things are there. What we want to do is build relationships, because those things can never be replaced with money. Money comes and goes. Relationships, if you burn it, it's gone. Trust, it's gone. So you want to build that relationship. You want to nurture it. You want to give it love, that TLC. You want to make sure that it feels good and the people feel welcome. That way, whenever they come back, they're able to tell a friend and join the party, right? Who wants to have a one person party? Nobody. So you want to have more than that one person, so you can always share the love and connect. So why I'm bringing this topic tonight is because email marketing is what I see a lot of people asking on my search console, on my data feeds, because people want to know how to do email marketing better, right? They've pretty much figured out social media, but I think email marketing is like the new thing now. But email marketing is still SEO. So if your SEO is not tight, if it's not connected, if your records are not in check, it's going to harm you than help you. So, those are some things that you have to look at as a business when you're thinking about the long term effect as well. Don, what are your thoughts on this idea of, email marketing and building that relationship?
So I like what you shared about adding value, because people like to buy from those that they know, like, and trust. And, depending on where someone is when they receive an email, they can quickly read through what resonates with them, especially if you have a very focused avatar of persona that really speaks to the need of the email recipient. And so, for example, I do newsletters among other things that I do. And it adds value. It's not spammy, because my newsletters come out once a month. There are other things that I can do as well in giving that sort of drip format. So I see the value in having a robust email marketing type strategy, especially since there's so many things that compete for our attention. And I land my plane.
You're so right on that, 100%. There's a lot of attention out there that people are seeking because they just want to put out content. But one of the things I've seen is that if you can put out one piece of content and it can last a week, it can last a month, it can last 3 months, it can last a year, then you're off to the races, because all you're doing is giving people the power to receive information. And how you're doing that is by empowering yourself. You're empowering yourself by putting yourself in a position on the web, so that when people are connecting with you, they're seeing your results. They're not just looking out for, oh, what's ranking? Because those things are great. It's great to rank, but what does ranking help with when you're not making a sale, you're not making a conversion, you're not making an impact? Those are good numbers, but it's beyond those numbers. That's why there's a conversion rate optimization factor. You have to think about, what is the next goal? How do people connect with you beyond what they're seeing? And if they're seeing it correctly, then they have to respond back correctly. So, how they respond back is how you give them that information. And by giving them information is by applying those concepts and letting them know, hey, we're here to stay. We have this information for you. Do you have any information for us? And then that way, by them clicking through to your email, getting to your analytics, you can get to see what kind of emails people send. So when you now receive that, it feels better, because with marketing, your marketing gets better over time when you have information that people can actually go back to, without it being felt as though you're always in sell mode or selling mode, because people can sense that, right? So you want to be as natural as possible with your emails. Instead of using the word I, use you. Very simple changes change everything. Even when you have a button that says, hey, take this offer, or book now, or choose your plan. Instead of choose my plan, you can have choose your plan. So because when they're reading it to themselves, they're reading that as though they're the person that they're referring to. So when you think about those ways of sending emails, it makes it easier for them to read, for them to understand, and then for them to grow. So I just wanted to have this quick room. It was very short. I started at 9:35 Central, and I said, you know what? It would be good to do a quick room. I didn't want to make it too long. It's late. And I just figured, hey, why not, throw in something here, because I realized people listen to the replays. I didn't know it was a thing until I started getting notifications. I'm like, oh, 10, 50. I'm like, okay, people are listening. So let me, keep going, because I want to help as many people as I can. Even if I'm not helping them directly, at least indirectly, I'm leaving an impact. So thank you so much for listening. Dawn, is there anything you'd like to say or, contribute before we wrap up? And Anisha, go, please let us know in the chat if there's anything you'd like to say too.
Well, thank you, Favor. You've really added a lot of value, especially the insight you gave about the pixel size, of your headings and your titles. And we have so many tools that we can use now to make sure that we are really hitting the mark with the type of titles that we send out with our emails. But I think most importantly is once what we are sharing adds value and it doesn't come across as salesy, because the lifetime value of a customer goes beyond just a couple of emails. Ideally, when you have a business and when you are building a community and you want to network, you want to make sure that you can draw and engage that person for at least 18 months. That I think is a really good time. And then of course, you'll always sort of curate other things that may interest that person after that. But yeah, I mean, it's so amazing what you said about, one of the titles that you had that was really trending even from 2022 to now. So yes, email marketing is really very relevant today. And I thank you so much for having me share the stage with you, Favor. And I land my plane.
You're welcome. No, I appreciate you too. I'm glad that I was able to do this room and you jumped in. I didn't even know you were on the app. I knew you were on the app, but not like on the app like that. So I said, okay, let me see you. And I saw you in the room and I said, okay, perfect. I'll give you a follow. So thanks for being here. And this was a great room. I hope you guys learned something and take this information, play with it, try it out, use those things, change this, just switch up your style and see what happens. Because if you don't knock it till you try it, and you'll be able to enjoy those things, because it's always surprising. For me, I love surprises and I love to surprise people. That's what I love to do, because that way it's like, hey, we can do this too. So it just creates a whole, light up room, a lit up room actually. I can put it like that. So thank you, Dawn. Thank you, Anisha. Thank you, Gold, and thank you also everyone who's listening in the listening lounge or wherever you are listening, whether it's on a podcast, on the show, wherever you are. Just thank you for listening. If you want to connect with me, feel free to do so on Clubhouse or LinkedIn. You can also go to my email, favor, FAVOUR, at playinc.online. You can also go to we don't play podcast.com or playinc.online to connect with us. So we have a lot to offer. Just let us know what you need, and we'll definitely get you to the right person. If we can't do it, we'll definitely connect you to the person who can. So that's what we need to do. Each one, teach one. So God bless you all. Have a wonderful night, and I'm gonna see y'all on the clubhouse streets.